Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bell's Most Running podcast. This is Andrew Rice, the site manager for On the Banks, with my co-host Arnav Sarkar. And we've got a very busy weekend in Rutgers football. A lot of recruiting news, big recruiting weekend. Um, yeah, just getting right into that. Yesterday, Rutgers landed 3 commits: one from four-star offensive lineman Tyler Duell, three-star quarterback Xavier Stearn, and three-star offensive tackle Tyrell Simpson. That especially all of them coming in one day and all of them being on their official visits together, that only serves to do bode really well for Rutgers in terms of getting a lot more commits from this current group. A little bit more excitement, a little bit more juice about coming to Rutgers. Plus, adding some decent four-star talent along with some pretty solid three stars. I mean, Tyrell Simpson, another North Carolina commit, listed as 6'7", 310 pounds. That obviously gives Pat Flaherty a frame that he can work with. And Rutgers has been in with the four-star Tyler Duell for a while. He's 6'6", 280 pounds. Really seems like they're starting to do well with offensive line in this current class. I just wanted to get your quick take on that.
Yeah, certainly. Doing a really good job with this 2026 class. Yeah, the four-star offensive lineman Tyler Duell, someone who they've been recruiting for a little while now. They're doing a really good job with getting talent from Pennsylvania, both Duell and their quarterback Xavier Stearn out of Germantown Academy. That's a very important commit because he's going to be one of three quarterbacks on the roster. In addition to obviously AJ Serace being the projected starter for next season, but it's going to be very important to have that quarterback depth for the 2026 year. Right now, as a junior, last year he threw for over 2,000 yards. He had 31 touchdowns and just 3 interceptions, so that's a very good ratio right there. Obviously, at the high school level, but that's very, very impressive. So obviously, very accurate quarterback, has a lot of volume. He still has one more senior season to get to. And then on the offensive line, Tyler Duell is a 4-star, very good size, as we've been seeing from a lot of these offensive line commits and even transfer portal guys too. But 6'5.5". Very 6'6", 280, and then Tyrell Simpson 6'7", 310. So that's just like you said, a really good frame for Pat Flaherty to work with for both of them. So getting these 4 stars, these higher 3 stars that could certainly develop, and a quarterback, because obviously that's very important to have the depth at the most important position in football as well. So a really good day to kind of lead the recruiting weekend, or to come out of the first big recruiting weekend here this summer. And Rutgers now has a top 25 recruiting class according to both Rivals and 247. So obviously, that's subject to change as some of these bigger schools get more bodies, as we know. But at the same time, that's still a very good start for the Scarlet Knights. There's already been other commits previously, but these 3 commits. Definitely all very good, both for the offensive line and for the quarterback position as well.
Absolutely. I believe Rutgers already had 4 offensive line commits or 3 offensive line commits. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Before this official visit weekend, now they're up to 5. They had 6 on campus. Not all of them committed, or not all of them have committed yet. It really seems like this is the year where all of Pat Flaherty's because he didn't really do much recruiting his first year. I think it takes a while to build those relationships, build those pipelines. Now it's starting to. I think we're finally starting to see a little bit the the fruits of the labor a little bit. One of the other offensive linemen, Jared Smith, another 4-star from Georgia, he came up this weekend. He committed last week. It was a kind of like a big deal. He live streamed it. Seemed really excited to work with Coach Flaherty. And, just the recruiting success that Rutgers has had on the offensive line so far, a lot of it can be contributed to Flaherty going out, either seeing these guys at like some sort of combine or something, or finding tape and being a major recruiter for them. So I think we're, at least for the offensive line position, we're finally starting to see a little bit of the fruits of the labor after he took some lower rated recruits and molded them into NFL caliber talent, especially when considering Holland Pierce.
Yeah, no, certainly. It does seem like Rutgers, they're definitely doing a lot of work with the offensive line position. Like you mentioned, they already had, I think, several or previous commits, and they added a couple. And Jared Smith obviously was huge. A Georgia kid who had offers from Georgia, some other SEC schools, I believe, as well.
Auburn.
Auburn and I think Miami as well, actually. But choosing Rutgers, that just really shows that people really want to play for this program. Maybe it's playing time, maybe it's other factors. I believe he said the culture and just the warm welcome that he got here in New Jersey definitely swayed him. But yeah, I mean that's a huge message to really send to college football as a whole, that people from out of state, from North Carolina, from Georgia, people with bigger offers are choosing here because they believe in the vision, and they believe in what Rutgers has to offer, which is a lot. I mean, Big Ten, good education, good development, playing time. I mean, NFL prospects, all of it, an up and coming program. So they really got sold. And yeah, this offensive line is gonna look pretty good for the next couple of seasons. Obviously next year, pretty solid in terms of the depth. We talked about the portal additions the last few weeks that they've added, and then 2026 getting all of these commitments as well. So Tyler Duell and and Tyrell Simpson, two big names there. So I mean, and Jared Smith coming in. So I mean, it's just it looks like it's going to be a really solid. Cameron Green, that was a few weeks ago as well. So I mean, it looks like it's going to be a really good class in terms of the offensive line. It's going to be shored up, and I'm looking forward to seeing like how this affects the team going forward. Obviously, it's like with recruiting, especially for 2026, it's like a year out, so we won't really see these players on the field anytime soon, but it's still really good news for Rutgers to see all of this come into fruition.
Yeah, it's kind of strange to think that the players that we're talking about now, we're probably, other than in like passing notes, we're probably not going to be talking about them again until 2026 at the very least, if they start to play as sophomores. And obviously some of them have much higher talent, several 4-stars, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe Rutgers is at 5 now with the addition of Duell. I believe they were at 5 4-stars.
Yeah, they might be. I believe so.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of weird to think about that. Right now, we're going to be talking about these guys, and it's probably going to be like 2 years before we talk about them seriously again. You know? Like,
it's interesting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's competing for a rotational role. This guy's probably going to see the field this year. It's just kind of weird that we're not like we talk about them now.
Yeah.
It's going to go quiet for a little bit, and while they're developing in college, maybe even during their senior year of high school, as we know, like they're already committed and stuff like that. But this is definitely their moment, their time to commit.
Exactly.
Might as well make a big deal out of it now, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I mean, some of the previous commits that kind of happened a long time ago, but I'm pretty excited about as well are YD Collier, who's listed as an athlete, probably either receiver corner, and Xavier Carter, who is a receiver, both 4 stars, above 90 ratings. They committed like a while ago, so I mean Xavier Carter committed in 2024 for
Yeah.
this class, and then Collier earlier this year in January 19th. So yeah, both of those are going to be pretty solid as well. I mean, it's always good to have in addition to offensive line, obviously, it's really good to have like really talented skill players, and that can really bring out the best in the offense or defense too. Quarters, if he's I'm not exactly sure which position he's gonna end up playing for Rutgers in terms of Collier, but either way, I mean it's always good to have the best skill talent available too.
It sounds like, it sounds like he really is going to be an edge, which is kind of like that linebacker defensive end hybrid where it's not set in stone which position he's going to be. I think there's a very good chance that he becomes maybe like a down linebacker or something like that. Rutgers probably maybe runs with an extra linebacker blitzing. Could be his
Interesting.
wingspan's incredible. If you look at some of the clips that he has working against uh, the fellow offensive line recruits, or not fellow, but the other the offensive line recruits in the Under Armour competition, you could tell that his wingspan, he's able to get them off his body a little bit. And when linemen can't get in there and start obviously you're not supposed to hold, but there's holding on every play. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the offensive lineman can't get in there and start grabbing jersey real close. However, those long arms basically stop them from getting into his chest, which is extremely beneficial and really caused him to have a standout performance at that Under Armour. I guess it's kind of like a combine. And he won defensive MVP for it. One interesting thing to note about that, though, is that when he won defensive MVP, he started to get some attention from some other schools, and I believe particularly Penn State, and he just kind of said, "I'm not interested. I've closed my commitment already."
Man, I really
You
like the
know?
sound of that. Yeah, that's good. It's always good to have like a hard commit that just slams the door on other schools. I believe like Ace Bailey also did that for basketball. Like he had offers from Duke and some other schools, and he said, "My commitment's closed." So stuff like that is always it always shows like good loyalty and everything. I really like to see that.
Well, not even just that, but you know how often a top dog will come in and poach a decent
Yeah,
player
at the last second. Like
from
look
a
what just
weaker
happened with
school?
with Oregon. They had the whole video of the guy committing and jumping in the pool with Dan Lanning, and like literally I think not even like 2 weeks later, like he decommits. So like that kind of
And
stuff
Oregon's
happens.
not a small program. Can you imagine
No,
how much
they're
it
a big
happens to a
fish.
team like
Yeah,
us?
exactly. That could very well happen all the time for sure, certainly. So yeah, no, I mean I really like that. That means he's definitely locked in on Rutgers on the Scarlet Knights. Yeah, so I mean it pretty much sums up, I guess, this weekend, and also like some previous commits that we're looking forward to seeing on the field in 2026.
Well, I did just want to speak on a couple more things, though. We talked about the offensive lineman from North Carolina, Tyrell Simpson. Um, Rutgers is doing very well in North Carolina, Georgia, and even reaching into Virginia a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not just in this recruiting class either. It's been in previous recruiting classes as well. Um, it almost seems like, well, I've said it before that they're creating a pipeline from the connections of tight ends coach Scott Vallone, from the connections of running backs coach Daimir Shaw. Now it seems like with adding Zach Sparber, who was at JMU and was at Duke, now it seems like adding them into the fray, they're only serving to strengthen that talent pool. So Rutgers has struggled to recruit New Jersey recently and has kind of always struggled to recruit New Jersey, so they've always had to go elsewhere. During the Shiano 1.0 era, they always seemed to have like a grasp on Florida where they could go and get some prospects to either fill positions of need or just get some solid players just in general. Now it seems that has kind of morphed a little bit. Maybe it's not so much the Florida connection, but they seem to have entrenched themselves in the Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, even like Southern Virginia areas. Always seems to bode well for the Knights. I mean, new recruiting areas. But it is just interesting how that talent pool has opened up for Rutgers over the past couple of years.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, going down south, and yeah, really getting these prospects. I mean, we've seen North Carolina open up. We've seen like Ben Black, like an example, and then now obviously, this commit with Tyrell Simpson, many others as well. Just naming Virginia has been a big one. I mean, we've seen like excuse me, Robert Longerbeam come from there and get that interception. But that's been a talent pipeline that's been doing very well as well. And even Georgia, like we mentioned with Jared Smith. I mean, so really being able to go down to the South and get these, these top prospects, players, especially with college football being, I guess, bigger down there, although that's probably more so for like, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. But still, I mean, like you mentioned, they had the pipeline from Florida in the first term, or Shiano 1.0, which is also kind of continued in a way to 2.0. We've seen a lot of Florida commits as well, but being able to get kind of like the East Coast portion of the South, like from Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, it's just that Rutgers is really expanding its footprint, past New Jersey and Florida and New York and Pennsylvania, because obviously they're going to work on the area around here. Keeping Jersey kids home is huge. Keeping nearby players is huge, but really being able to have that footprint is is really a good idea. And it could be potentially, a few different coaches that contribute to this. Zach Barber from James Madison, that could be playing an impact on it. Scott Vallone, Daimir Shaw, both position coaches. I mean, that could also be a part of it as well.
I think you kind of just like rephrased what I just said. I'll be honest with you, but I agree with it. One thing that I did want to just point out, though, is that they still have struggled to cultivate New Jersey a little bit. And I would like to see, because Rutgers always lands a couple people from like that 5 to 10 top kids in New Jersey range, but I would really like to get a couple, in the top 5 of New Jersey. It might be a little bit of wishful thinking, but it sounds like it could happen eventually. I mean, only as Rutgers continues to win, the recruiting odds go up. And you need to win to be able to cultivate New Jersey, because New Jersey has a whole bunch of other Power 5 schools that love to snip around and steal players from us. Michigan, Ohio State, definitely Penn State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for us to be able to find a way to cultivate our state into what we want it to be, or into a proper recruiting pipeline for Rutgers, a lot of work still needs to be done. But as they begin to win a little bit more, they just get closer and closer to becoming that goal. Because I truly believe that when Rutgers is able to like fully cultivate that New Jersey pipeline and, maybe not keep a majority of their prospects, but be a consistent presence in even in the top 5 of New Jersey prospects, I feel like that becomes a whole new dangerous team for really anybody, because of all the top-rated prospects that do come out of this state. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, like Saquon Barkley was originally a Rutgers commit before he went to Penn State.
Yeah.
So if they're able to get those players and just grab hold of them and get them to commit here, I mean, you're not just setting Rutgers up for success in the short term. You're talking about down the line too. But reflecting more on this weekend, reflecting more on this recruiting weekend, right now Rutgers still has 23 prospects on campus, including the 3 that committed, including the 4 that committed beforehand. A few players that I would personally like to see commits from are 4-star interior offensive lineman Kai Pritchard and 4-star edge Carter Gooden. They are the 2 highest remaining ranked prospects still on the trip that have yet to commit to Rutgers. It would definitely be good to hear that they committed.
Yeah, no, certainly. Totally agree. Obviously those, especially as 4-stars. With Rutgers trying to make a run on some of these higher talent. Kai Pritchard and Carter Gooden on the edge. I think that's another position that Rutgers really needs to heat up on. Obviously having a good this year with Eric O'Neill and Bradley Weaver, but I believe both of those are 1 year 1 year players. So for the 2026 class, I think that would be a really good position to add to, especially with the way the Rutgers the defense is set up and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I gotta stop saying that. It's just kind of my go-to quote or my go-to line.
Makes sense.
With I mean, you always want to cultivate the best players out of any official visit weekend. Right now, those seem to be the 2. Rutgers has been in on Kai Pritchard for a while. He's a New Jersey kid. He's from Toms River, not even 20 minutes away from me. If Rutgers can land his commitment and have a New Jersey kid be extremely successful in their program, it's another thing where it only serves to go really well for them, because I have a feeling that they have a strong grasp on North Jersey, Kyle Monungai from North Jersey, like Holland Pierce from North Jersey, all these AJ Surveys from North Jersey. But I feel like as they go to Central and South Jersey, they really begin to lose their grip almost.
Yeah, that is interesting because they have the big Don Bosco, Bergen Catholic, all the big New Jersey schools farther north. And even Holland Pierce from Trenton. But I guess South Jersey's, because it's I feel like they do lose a little bit of a step, and that's where sometimes the players tend to go to either Penn State or rival Big Ten schools or maybe somewhere else potentially. But I feel like that's an area where maybe they need to be able to shore it up, because that's still part of the state, and they have had talent from that area of the state too. Isaiah Pacheco from Vineland obviously is a big name. So so many others as well. But to be able to really lock up New Jersey's borders, and also like you said, getting the top 5 players in the top 5 of New Jersey to stay in New Jersey. Obviously that's hard because the better the player, the better they're going to want to go, the better the player, the better school they're going to want to be able to go to. And just as Rutgers is at kind of a certain level, there's those players are probably going to want to have the ability to earn playing time on bigger programs that could make the playoff, like Big Ten championship and things like that come into play. But to be able to really like you said, as Rutgers keeps winning, the ceiling for recruiting only really goes up as well, because they're going to be able to believe that they can win at home. And that's going to be able to go a long way. So even if they are able to only keep maybe 1 or 2 of those top 5, that could still be really good, because those are above 90 ranking guys. Those are 4 stars. I mean, even just having a couple of those could really change the trajectory of like really like an entire class. So I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. I mean, in all honesty, I don't know like how much it's gonna like completely change the trajectory, because in the class before this, Rutgers had a very solid recruiting class. They got a number of 4 stars, but I think the big thing is that after we get that very highly rated class, the biggest thing is just to not dip. Don't go down. At least stay the course, Um, if they continue to stay the course, as the talent develops and begins to get better, they're going to take that next step up. And with that next step up is going to come even better recruits.
Right.
From my personal belief. But the problem is with recruiting in New Jersey is that you almost have like you have North Jersey that identifies itself with New York. You have South Jersey that really identifies itself with like Pennsylvania. And then you have the middle of New Jersey where it's just kind of I guess identifies it with itself, or if it's like a mix between which major city it identifies with.
Yeah, it's in the middle.
So it's almost like they might not consider like people from South Jersey might not consider somewhere like Rutgers like really part of their New Jersey. It's like
it's confusing. It's like the same stuff that goes on with like the North and South Jersey sports teams. Like, are you rooting for New York, rooting for Philly, in the middle? Like, which way do you go? It's kind of like, and there's like it's like a whole divide between the state. But I mean, I think with Rutgers being kind of in the middle and being, a central, New Jersey school and everything, and really though one of the major sports teams in the area, and especially collegiate, like I think overall it does. Really. Yeah, the only really, I mean, the Devils play in New Jersey, but even that's kind of more like northern. But I mean, but Rutgers, there's a lot of South Jersey, people who both like, I guess, sports and non-sports and whatnot. But like, I mean, that identify with New Jersey because it's still the state school. There's a lot of people who root for Philly sports teams that come to Rutgers. So I mean, overall, I feel like Rutgers does a good job with really unifying the entire state. But maybe in the recruiting world, maybe like I could see why South Jersey might feel a little bit differently than that. They might feel much closer to Philly, even maybe Pennsylvania, Penn State than like than a Rutgers. But Rutgers also does take from there too. I mean, Temple's around, but it's all about who's better. There's a lot of dynamics that go involved with all this stuff,
Yeah, I really like the fact that they're also making steps into Pennsylvania as well. I mean, with the Sorry, I got people talking in the background, but like, the big thing is like they are kind of almost like they feel like disconnected, I would say. It really, and Penn State has set up recruiting backgrounds in our or recruiting pipelines in our backyard, essentially. It really does seem to bode well that we are going into Pennsylvania and grabbing some recruits from there too.
Yeah.
It just shows that we're able to compete with these top programs. I mean, being able to take somebody that Georgia wanted too.
I know, that's really the ultimate. I mean, they're like a perennial contender year in, year out, in the SEC too. So I mean, really, really feels good to be able to get that one for sure.
Yeah, but if we're able to unify the state of New Jersey under the Scarlet R, that not only, like I said, not only bodes well for what Schiano's trying to do, but the coaches after him too.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it really does start here, and if they could really, bring, like you said, if they can even start getting some of the top commits from around the state, And then obviously, like the 6 to 10 range, like you mentioned, if they could really, unify the whole state under the block R, the Rutgers R, and expand outward from there, then I think that's going to be like a game changer for Rutgers and what the team can accomplish. And recruiting's like certainly an interesting thing because it's like the better the team is, the better recruits they're going to get. So then that comes on the field, but then it also comes through the recruits. So then when the recruits get better, the on the field performance gets better, which gets makes the recruiting better. So it's kind of like a catch 22, but it's like if it works for you, then the cycle only gets better. So I mean, the way the team is looking, I mean, they're getting better recruits, they're playing better on the field. I think a lot of this is gonna, bring that cycle forward. As they win more on the field, they're gonna be able to get better recruits off the field, which is gonna carry over.
Right. Just did want to speak about a recruit that Rutgers is currently in the final contention from Michigan. He's from Detroit, Michigan. It's running back Michael Dukes. It seems like he is the number one Rutgers running back that they want out of this class. Right now, he currently has a commitment to Toledo. He's on the official visit right now. But he's got offers from Rutgers and Michigan State. I don't think that Toledo commit is going to last, especially when you have some bigger programs that really want you, like Rutgers and Michigan State.
Yeah.
The only issue that I really see for Rutgers is that Michigan State seems to be gearing up to be making a significant push for him. He is still listed as warm on Rutgers by 247 right now. Hopefully, because Shiano doesn't have a tendency to get a lot of decommitments. He might lose somebody like they were in tight contention for, but he doesn't get a lot of decommitments once somebody is already committed. If he is really Rutgers' like top running back prospect, the guy that they really want, I hope that that by the end of this weekend we just get a commitment out of him and we lock him down, and it just stays that way. Because, like I said, Shannon doesn't really get a lot of decommitments compared to some other coaches. So I feel like if he's on campus, now's the time to lock him down, end Michigan State's push for him, or kind of squash the moves that they're trying to make right now. And that way we can get a running back that they seem to be pretty high on. I mean, calling him their number one option in this class is definitely high praise. So, especially since he is only listed as, I believe, a 3-star. Yeah, especially since he's only listed as a 3-star. Getting high praise from a running back factory like Rutgers, and wanting him to be the number one guy definitely shows me that there's something, definitely would tell you that there's something there. I just hope that, we get him flipped this time, get him to commit, lock it down, and hopefully bump Michigan State out of the running for it.
Yeah, no, those are all very good points. I mean, obviously, he's from Detroit, Michigan, so that's an in-state program, Big Ten. Seems like based on his offer list, he's gotten a lot of the MAC teams in some lower level schools, and then committed to Toledo, which is, I guess, one of the better ones. I remember them beating Mississippi State last year, although not a very good SEC team at all, but still an SEC team on the road. But now getting some bigger offers. I mean, you got Colorado State, Rutgers, and Michigan State. And I guess to your point about, I mean, in terms of being the number one guy for 2026, so far I don't see any running back commits for that class. So it definitely would be a really good get. And I mean, like with the running backs that have come out of Rutgers recently, I mean, you have Kyle Monangai in the NFL, you have Isaiah Pacheco in the NFL, won multiple Super Bowls. So I mean, a very good track record. And if they really want him, like, it would be really good to to have the next, obviously right now, this year, Antoine Raymond, Deshaun Benjamin, there's some names in this class that are poised to also maybe have a big season, especially Raymond. CJ Campbell stepping in here as well as a transfer. But in terms of 2026, I feel like that could be a really good commit. And ideally, yeah, they do, they're able to convince them this weekend. So Michigan State isn't able to make a big push, because obviously being an in-state player like that, just like Rutgers, New Jersey has like that appeal for a lot of Rutgers commits, like Michigan State, Michigan, they have like that same appeal for them, even though Michigan State's also kind of similar to Rutgers in terms of like their level. It's still a Big Ten program. So hopefully they can knock that one down, before he gets out of here. Otherwise, that could swing the other way if he, takes a visit there and what have you.
Yeah, because for him, Michigan State's like right down the road almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you look at where East Lansing is compared to Detroit, it's not far at all. Hopefully, we speak like, hey, maybe you want to get a little bit away from home for college,
Yeah, that's another thing. Like
come see the beach a little bit,
Yeah, you have to think about this in terms of like, what student athletes want. Like there's always that thing. Do you want to stay close to home? Do you want to stay, a little bit away? All these, you have to remember that all these players are human too, and they have these types of thoughts going through their head, and whatever can like really get to them and sway them, whether it's staying at home or not, or playing time, or whatever it is, like the culture, like a lot of these things you might not think really mattered too much to people, but they sometimes that, Rutgers giving them a warm welcome, or just them enjoying the visit, like these things can like be what makes or breaks like a commitment or not. So all of these things definitely very important to keep in mind, for sure.
No, I agree. I agree completely. Definitely would like to see Rutgers lock down his commitment by the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
Let's not give Michigan State a chance to really jump in there. Pivoting on to, I guess, a different type of football news. The schedule for football came out pretty recently. A lot of things to note here. The Rutgers-Iowa game moved to Friday night, will be broadcasted on nationwide on Fox. If any game was going to be the blackout game, I assume it's going to be that one. Obviously, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Could be the game against Oregon for homecoming.
Potentially.
But if I was a betting man, I would take the game against Iowa to be the blackout game. Speaking of that game from Oregon, it's another night game for Rutgers. 6 o'clock kickoff, I believe. Homecoming.
6:30 or 7 right now it's listed as.
Sorry, 6:30 or 7 kickoff for Rutgers. Homecoming game. You're inviting one of the best teams in the business, on your homecoming.
I'm very excited.
Maybe not a crazy good idea on that one, but
we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. And then Rutgers also has a confirmed night game on the road at Washington. Kickoff was 9 p.m.
Yes, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, so 6 p.m. local in Washington.
Either way, it's a night game. It's a
night game for both of us, but especially for us, and it's not too late, because I remember last year was the USC game, which started 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern after the World Series game between the Yankees and Dodgers. So, oh wow, that was it was kind of a rough one for around here, I guess, Yankees, Rutgers fans in particular. But in terms of
up to like what, 3 a.m. covering.
Yeah, like the game ended around like 2:30. And obviously we have to watch every Rutgers game, and we want to, but it was just a late game, and Rutgers lost too on top of that, which
and not close either.
No, it was not too close. It was a really deflating October as a whole last season, but this year though, Washington on the road, FS1, 9 p.m. Not a bad idea. Iowa, the blackout game. That's going to be a big one as well. It's not confirmed that it's the blackout game, but in all likelihood, it probably will be. Either way, it's a night home game. There's shades of 2022 because in that season, it was the first night game, I believe, since 2017 or something like that. And it was also against Iowa, and it was also after Rutgers. Well, we don't know this yet either, but, assuming Rutgers starts off 3-0 again in the non-conference, which seems to be like an annual tradition at this point, which is good. But, Iowa came in and kind of exposed Rutgers' flaws and scored, I think, 14 points on defense and won 27-10. So this year, how does Rutgers stack up? Because, I mean, I think Ohio, which is an evening game too. I guess to go through some of these times here. I mean, Ohio's a 6 p.m. Thursday night season opener. I think it should be a good test. I think Rutgers should win, but I think it's not necessarily going to be a pushover. Miami, Ohio, maybe a little bit easier, but still definitely a team to respect. That's a 3:30 Peacock game the next Saturday. Then comes Norfolk State the week after that, your annual FCS matchup. So Rutgers should be rolling into that. I believe that one's also a 3:30 kickoff too on BTN. And then the Fox game against Iowa. So assuming Rutgers is rolling, maybe they get to rest their starters in the Norfolk State game. Everything's geared up towards Iowa. The fans are looking ahead to where it's Iowa. But the question is, can Rutgers beat Iowa this time around or not? And based on recent history, I mean, it doesn't really look too promising, because even like when Rutgers seems to have closed the gap for some reason, like against Iowa, it's tough. The matchups is tough. So they lost 27-10. They lost 22-0. But we don't really know what Iowa's going to look like either. Obviously, they're very elite defensively. Special teams is very good. They're very shaped like Rutgers, but I think they've also made improvements on their offensive side of the football as well. So we'll see how they shape up. Obviously with the Hawkeyes, they're big games against Iowa State, so I think we'll get to know how good they are based on their Cy-Hawk rivalry game, which I might have to tune into now that we're talking about this, just for some scouting purposes. But yeah, I mean, either way, Rutgers Iowa is going to be a really good game. It feels like a good game to have the blackout game too, or again, we don't know that, but a night game, get the home crowd into it, because I feel like Rutgers really could use that push. And if they can get over the hump and start 4-0 in September, yeah, I mean, first game would be in August, but if they can get a win over Iowa, I feel like that would be a statement win for Rutgers. That would mean that they've taken the next step forward, because Iowa's kind of like a program that's one tier above the Scarlet Knights, and for whatever reason, Rutgers has really had a lot of trouble beating teams in that tier. So if they're able to take the next step up, knock off the Hawkeyes at home, or even like really, really, really be competitive with them, like I think that would bode well for Rutgers going forward too.
I would not mind if this became a trend either, where, fourth game of the season, we get Black Friday.
Yeah.
Because this was what it was last year, right?
I love Black Friday. Well, I mean, both the holiday and the football game Black Friday. But we do it, like I said, like we do a really good job with the lighting, with the shows, with the night atmosphere. It's really fun.
Fox wanted to come back.
Yeah.
They wanted to come back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely want to come back.
We need the same showing again.
Exactly. And also that was also a big game too, because that was also the opener. That was also against Washington, and it was coming off, another, 3-0 non-conference, but the last game against Virginia Tech, which I got to go to last year, was a lot of fun. A road win against the Hokies in Blacksburg, had a great time. But coming back for that, seeing like pretty much like the whole campus show up for that game and beyond, it was just the light show was great, and the win was really good. I mean, Rutgers really affirmed, like I said, against Washington, who previous year had went to the national championship game. Obviously, they took a step back, but to be able to get that win, kind of a weird game in a way, because Washington kind of had like the better stats. They were able to move the ball. They were not able to score, and Rutgers kind of took advantage of their mistakes. But either way, that's a very important part of the game. Rutgers able to hold on at the end and get a win.
Take the win.
Yeah, exactly. We did take the win, and what a great win that was too. And yeah, just a euphoric feeling. So unfortunately, October wasn't too great. November was kind of a big rebound.
We're not going to pay attention to that.
Yeah, but we're on to 2025. But I don't know. I just feel like with Washington, the difference between Washington and Minnesota and Iowa is like, it feels like for some reason, well, Rutgers also was, I think, underdogs to Minnesota, but they were able to pull that one out. But I feel like Iowa and Illinois, and I kind of wrote about this in my article, are kind of like one tier above Rutgers, and that's where Rutgers seems to have trouble, whether there's a number next to their name or even if not. But like I feel like that's where Rutgers tends to struggle a little bit, and if they could really break that trend and really get a win over someone who's clearly favored, because I feel like Iowa's probably going to be favored by at least 5-6 points, if not maybe a touchdown. Like we'll see how they do again, but just my gut feel on that. They're probably going to be favored, but if Rutgers can overcome that and get a W on a night like Black Friday, I think that would be really just a great win. I mean, for the fans, for the casual fans, and for the diehard fans, for everyone, and for the program going forward, that could be the type of win that really, like signals that Rutgers is taking the next step, I guess, towards really competing. And I think that's really the most important thing. So if they can do that, that would probably be the 8th win of the season if they could beat all the other teams that are below that level too. So I think that would be huge.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about how that could be good for the program going forward too,
Mhm.
because if Rutgers does really well in all 3 night games, or even if they do just well in the first 2 against Iowa and Washington,
Right.
that only serves to do really well for our recruiting. If the Rutgers faithful can show up at that Iowa game and create an insane atmosphere like they did against Washington, it's really going to help the recruits be like, oh, wow, Rutgers is now taking that next step into it being a big-time program. The fans are reflecting it. This is a big deal. It's only going to serve well for recruiting too,
Sure.
Getting that national brand of people showing up, packing the stadium, competing in a tight game. Recruits watch that. They do. They're watching atmosphere.
Especially
They're watching.
Yeah, that's true. Especially nationally televised games. I mean, this is a way for a team like Rutgers who, I mean, I don't want to say that they don't play on national TV a lot because now they kind of do, but before it used to be mostly on the Big Ten. But I mean, now they've been playing. Yeah, I mean, Fox, they've had CBS multiple times in the last few years against Big Ten teams. They've had
It seems you have to earn your way. It seems like you have to earn your way to getting that national coverage. You can't do what Rutgers was doing from 2015 to 2020 and expect games to be broadcast nationally. That's not how it works. You have to win. You do.
But, I mean, yeah, they have, and they've gotten like these Friday night games on Fox and FS1. They've gotten CBS. They've gotten, they even had NBC, I think, like last year one time too. So I mean, they've been getting on, the main platforms for. But really, I mean, like these nationally, especially this Friday, this is going to be a standalone game against Iowa, and like I said, Rutgers does a really good job with the atmosphere, with the crowd for that game in particular, but also just in general. And I feel like, recruits are definitely going to take a notice, but if they could really, like send a message and, really compete in these games, or even win them, especially in Iowa, who's like kind of, second tier of the Big Ten, like kind of below the first tier, but not, still at like one tier above Rutgers. If they could really, knock off Iowa, or even you really, really be in that game and compete and, come very close to winning, that could send a message that, hey, Rutgers has arrived in the top third of the Big Ten. I mean, they're really going for it. And even if they, same thing with like, even if with the Oregon game too. I mean, that's going to be a great atmosphere in the evening. And homecoming's already a big weekend. They've added more tailgating hours to that. Place is going to be stirred up. So if they can hang around it against Oregon, against Penn State for Senior Day, against Ohio State and Columbus, who's coming off a national championship, against Illinois, who they probably could have beaten last season and who might be ranked. A lot of people have them as this year's version of Indiana. So if they could really compete against some of these a little bit higher level teams to, significantly higher level teams, I think that would bode well. But ideally what would happen is Rutgers has like a program breakthrough win against like an Iowa. And I don't know why that's like so impossible, but I feel like eventually it's bound to change. It's whether it's this year or not, we don't know. But if Rutgers could really show up and show out and send a message that that they've arrived on the scene, then and potentially steal a game or at least come very close to doing so, then I think that bodes well for the program as a whole. And like you mentioned, like recruits do take notice of this stuff, so hopefully they do pull it off. hopefully it isn't going to be like a deflating type of loss to the Hawkeyes coming off a 3-0 non-conference, because that is very, very painful. But at the same time, we don't know. But I think Rutgers, the way they're set up this year, I think they have a good chance of competing, because their offense, in addition to their defense and special teams, has taken big strides forward since the last time we've seen them. And I think that has an effect of that could definitely keep Rutgers in that type of game for sure.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about that. They just want to move on to a couple smaller sports. All the football news has sadly come to an end, but Rutgers has been making some noise in some, I guess, non-money earning sports is the best way to put it.
The non-revenue sports.
Yeah.
Yes, is probably the best way to put it. But yeah, you're right.
The women's rowing team finished 8th overall in the NCAA championships after getting the invite last week. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? I know there's different tiers of the rowing competitions. Not too familiar personally myself, but I know you did write an article about it.
Yeah. I did write an article. It's been pretty interesting. I mean, like, looking at some of these, I guess, quote unquote smaller sports, but we've been looking at baseball, softball, and lacrosse, and like obviously the bigger spring sports as kind of a disappointment, but that doesn't mean like all the sports, spring sports have been disappointing. I mean, Rutgers women's rowing doing like a great job. I mean, making nationals, winning. I think their coach won Coach of the Year. They've had multiple players on the conference teams. I think they had their Big Ten freshman of the year as well. So, second place finish in the Big Ten for Rutgers, finishing behind Washington. In the Big Ten championship race, which are called regattas, which is interesting. But in terms of the national meet or the national regatta, they finished 8th place as a team, which is their second highest. I believe a few years ago they were 7th. So and they're varsity 4, which means if you watch like the Olympics or anything like that. So 8 is the varsity 8 is when there's 8 women in a boat, all rowing together, obviously, and they also have someone who's steering the boat called a coxswain. But in terms of the 4, that's 4 women to a boat. So they finished the best out of any team for the Scarlet Knights, 5th in the grand final, which was their best national finish at the NCAA championships. 2.3 seconds away from a medal, 0.03 of a second behind 4th place Yale. So I mean that's their best overall finish in the NCAA's. Varsity 8 finished 5th in 2021. So and then Varsity 8 they made the petite final, which is the second final, which is like I think 7 to 12. So they finished 2nd in that. So I guess that means they got 8th over there. They beat Indiana. And then finally the second varsity 8. So I guess that's their backups to the varsity 8 team. They won the C final, which is the third heat or the third best final. So I guess that means they got 13th place, but that in their heat they got the win. So I mean, so the second varsity 8 winning in the third level final. The varsity 4 is getting 5th place in the big final. Washington has a very good rowing team. They finished 2nd in that race, but Stanford finished 1st. So a lot of West Coast rowing power over there. And then in the petite final, second final, Rutgers finished 2nd in that race. So 8th overall behind Princeton. And another thing to note is that these races actually happen very close to home in West Windsor, New Jersey, on Lake Mercer. So very, very close to here, close to Princeton, basically, is where that is particularly located, but not far from Rutgers. I'm pretty familiar with the area. But yeah, so Rutgers kind of almost had like a home meet in a way. Not quite a home meet, but very close to home for the Nationals. And yeah, their best performance in quite some time. Like I said, they finished 7th. I forget what year exactly that was, but in one of the recent years. But I think it was 2021. I might be wrong about that, but it was still an 8th place finish overall and a 5th place finish in a race is against these rowing powers nationally and within the conference is extremely solid. And yeah, it's great to see. I mean, it just shows that you should definitely keep your eyes open to Rutgers sports, no matter what sport it is, because you never know which program can make a splash, on the banks, to use some puns, I guess. But yeah, just a great a great performance by Rutgers women's rowing, and I was really glad to be able to take note of that and be able to put out articles, because I feel like sometimes these sports don't really get a whole lot of coverage on any channel or any that many blogs. I mean, obviously the Rutgers website covers it very well, which is where I got a lot of this information. But yeah, I'm very happy to be able to write about that. And I guess another sport where Rutgers did really well was track and field. They sent 8 representatives to nationals. They sent 16 into the first round, and to the NCAA East first round, and 8 to the next round. So yeah, both from the men's and women's team. In track and field, Charlie Crawford, Chris Sorrell, and Bryce Tucker advancing, but all running track events. Crawford in the women's 400 meters, and then Sorrell in the men's 110-meter hurdles. He ran a time of 13:49 to break a school record, and then and then Tucker running 50 flat seconds in the quarterfinals of the 400-meter hurdle. So he's in the NCAA championships as well. And then over in track and field, on the field side, Steve Capone and javelin making a throw of 69, almost 70 meters, making his first trip. That's very
think about that for a minute too.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the Olympics, you're very familiar with stuff like this. But that's a heck of a throw. I mean, imagine throwing, 70 meters. That's 229 feet in 2 inches. So I don't even know how many yards that is, but I think that's close to like 70 yards. Might even be more than that, honestly. Yeah, which is almost the length of a football field. So just keep that in mind. And then in pole vault, you might know the name Chloe Timberg, who won the national championship for pole vaulting last year for Rutgers. She's back to defend her title after posting a qualifying height of 4.24 meters over 13 feet. And on the men's side, they're sending 2 pole vaulters, Nico Morales and Kevin O'Sullivan, who I believe his brother also in part of the competition. But the 2 of them making their debut on the men's side of the pole vaulting competition, they both cleared heights of 5.33 meters, over 17 and almost 17 and a half feet, which is another insane amount to think about, to be able to jump through the air, on a pole going over a height of that high. And yeah, pretty impressive. So they're going for pole vaulting. Paige Florea will make the NCAA championships in her first season with a mark of 6.22 meters, over 20 feet, 20 feet 5 inches in the long jump, which all of these are like mind-blowing stats, as you mentioned. So I mean, that's just incredible. So yeah, both rowing and track and field. Obviously rowing with the 5th place finish or the 8th place finish and the 5th place for the varsity fours, and track and field sending 8 athletes to the NCAA championships across like both the track and the field. I mean, it's pretty impressive, and definitely something to keep an eye out for Rutgers.
You really got to learn to pay attention to those smaller sports, because you never know what you might be missing.
Yeah.
That does seem to be all the news that we do have today. Thank you for joining us this week, and be sure to tune in again next week. And always remember that the bells must ring.